been really, fooling us. With the one minute, we don't know whether it's winter or whether it's summer, but I'm glad that we're here to have a very warm conversation with one another. And of course, I'm meeting all of you after a while, and I'm excited to be here. And I also see, Dion, many people in the room who are familiar faces. We also have Dr. Fatima all the way from the UK, and she's someone who is a regular in our space, and welcome Fatima and to every other colleague that's in our space. It gives me great pleasure to welcome each of you into our conversation today. And the title of the conversation today is Education for Dignity and Opportunity, Leaving No Learner Behind. Now, one of the things that the month of May, reminds us is the celebration of what it means to be African. And so one of the things that we are going to be doing in this afternoon's conversation is a celebration of Africa Day. And the theme for this year is assuring sustainable water availability and safe sanitation systems to achieve the goals of Agenda 2063. Now, even though the theme itself seems to be centered on water availability and safe sanitation, the issue of water is not only prolific in South Africa around the water shedding problems, the problems with water infrastructure, apart from also our energy and electricity problems. There is acute awareness across South Africa around some of the problems that we have with water. So this theme is also impacting our communities and our schools, and therefore it's opportune, given this theme, that we should be having this conversation. So this afternoon, we gather to celebrate Africa Day. We celebrate it as a moment of reflection, a moment of pride, and also a moment of possibility. It's a day that reminds us of the richness of our continent's histories, cultures, languages, knowledge systems, and the resilience of our people. This year's theme calls us to recognize that sustainable development begins with dignity, health, and access to basic resources. Water and sanitation are not only matters of infrastructure, they are also matters of equity, human well-being, educational success, and economic growth. In education, we know that our learners thrive when schools and communities have safe water, proper sanitation, and healthy environments that support teaching and learning. So as we engage in today's conversations, may we do so with openness, purpose, and a shared commitment to building an Africa where quality education, sustainability, and human dignity go hand in hand. Let this be a space where ideas are exchanged, partnerships are strengthened, and new possibilities are imagined for the continent we all call home. Happy Africa Day, everybody, and welcome to this very important dialogue. Thank you very much, Dion, for allowing me the opportunity to open the conference, to open the dialogue and open the conversations. And I look forward to healthy discussion with our speakers who I know have much to contribute to our conversations today. Thanks, Dion.
Thank you, Prof. Kat Yassim. On the premises of what Prof has shared, let us begin this important journey together. But before we begin with our first presentation, we would love to hear from you. So please take a moment just to respond to our live Mentimeter activity, which will be shared with you. The link or the code will be shared in the chat. And today's question is as follows. In what one word can you express what the biggest impact of poor sanitation is in schools? So I'm just going to give an opportunity for the Mentimeter question to pop up and for the link to be shared in the chat or the QR code to be displayed. And we would like to hear from your responses in regards to the question. Again, I repeat, just in one word, share with us what is the biggest impact of poor sanitation in schools. Your responses will just help frame today's discussions, and it will just give us insight into the experiences and reflections in the room. And I want to encourage you to continually share your responses by engaging with the Mentimeter throughout. There will be a time later on in today's conversation where we will pause and have a look at your responses. I'm just making sure whether the link has been shared in the chat room. So the Mentimeter has been shared. Please click on the link that was provided, and we look forward to your responses. As you continue to engage with the Mentimeter, I would like to take the opportunity to introduce our first presenter, Mr. Klaas Mahlalani. And thank you, everyone, for participating in the Mentimeter activity as we go along. So it is now my pleasure to just introduce our first speaker, Mr. Klaas, principal of Dikuba Primary School in the Waterberg district of Limpopo. Mr. Shalalani was dedicated 34 years of his life to education and is widely recognized for his leadership and commitment to learner success. Under his guidance, Dikubu Primary School has consistently achieved strong academic performances while nurturing educational leadership within the sector. He is also the recipient of the 18th National Teacher Awards for Excellence in Primary School Leadership. And today, Mr. Shahlalani will share reflections from his leadership journey and insights into the realities schools face regarding infrastructure, dignity, and creating environments where learners can thrive. So please join me in welcoming Mr. Klaas Mahlalani. Mr. Klaas, if you could please share your screen and switch on your camera.
Afternoon. Yes, I'm still trying to share my screen. Yeah, please advise me if you can see what is projected on the screen.
Mr. Klaas, your presentation is visible. Thank you. You may proceed.
Thank you. Afternoon, all the people who managed to attend. What did I do now? Just a moment. Right. Colleagues, yes, thank you very much. Being in the sector for quite a long time, when I joined the school in 2023, I found that the school is very old, but I had to come with my own vision that will be aligned with the school vision. And the school being old is already a challenge in the sense that you realize that the facility is aging. So one of the major challenges that I identified is that we were using municipality water, and after using municipality water, the toilets are blocking almost every time. That was my major hurdle to cross. So I'll take you through a presentation that will help you understand how I navigated through that space in order to find myself where I am currently. So I used the bridge diagram. With the bridge diagram, that's where you should know where you are as a leader, the challenges that you're facing and the needs that you want to achieve. In doing that, those things are on the other side, and you have to create yourself a bridge that can take you to the other side. So what is your desired destination? What is your purpose at that particular institution? So my purpose was to make sure that I create a system where these learners will attend in a very healthy environment and get sustainable water supply. So in doing that, you need to, as a leader, apply what you call a catch the opportunities. How do you catch opportunities? As a leader, you open up to investors that can assist you to run the system because you cannot do it alone. You participate in competitions that can allow you to gain knowledge, gain insights, and meet people that can assist you to grow the institution. As a leader, you must be able to scan the environment and identify gaps where you need to pop in and make sure that the institution works. And how do you do that? You make sure that whatever is presented before you, whatever is available online, whatever institution is available to you, you become a developmental parasite and be an opportunist. Because if you cannot do that, you'll not be able to succeed. Because sometimes, like the situation that I faced, the finances was a problem. So knocking at different doors is the solution. And again, as a leader, to participate and play a role, you are winning, because you need first to change your mindset. When you get to an institution, do not find it degrading. Do not degrade yourself. Tell yourself, I want to make sure that with the little that I have, then I get positive results. Because at the end of the day, we must respect and restore the dignity of the users of these institutions, who are the learners and the educators. So the second thing that you need to do is to set clear and achievable goals. Remember, you get into that institution. Is it possible for me to change the system? Yes. But do I have the finances? No. Set yourself targets and start working on it. Then as you do that, you will realize that you need a certain level of love for your job, for growth and learning. And once you do that, it doesn't become a burden to you. It becomes a program that you want to flow with. And do not deprive yourself of opportunities or deprive your learners of opportunities to learn or grow. You need to make sure that you open up the system that will allow everybody within the system to flourish and grow. What do you take into cognizance? The historical performance of your school will assist you to know where the school is coming from and where you want to take this school based on their history. And then from there, you look at the current situation. What are the trends that are affecting your performance? Of which the toilets, if they are not clean, if they are not getting enough water, there's a problem of learners not attending, educators always solving this type of situations where there's no enough supply of water. So you need, from this information, project your future programs and project the trends based on what you have seen and planned. In doing that, you'll be able to address the challenges that you're facing. Then I came with this incident of saying there are factors that trigger a school system. When you operate a school system alone, without external stakeholders, the system is going to collapse. So I develop a system where I'm sharing my challenges with the other stakeholders. Like, for example, you get support from external stakeholders and you have teamwork, then you have a system that is sustainable, because you'll have people from the outside that can come and say, no, the system cannot collapse. Then that's where they provide balance. And that's where you see people saying, no, not with this institution, because you share your frustrations, you share your challenges, and that's when you can win in the target that you have set for yourself. So as a leader, I had a problem that we don't have a big budget at that particular school. And it was built in the 1910s, so it was very aging. There was a huge amount of 125,000 bill at the municipality that needs to be paid with the money that we don't have. There was leaking and blocking toilets, especially for the learners. That was a main challenge. Those are the challenges that the gaps that I identified. And it was carrying an unbearable smell, which posed health risks to the users, whether educators, parents, or learners. This in itself necessitates a program to address these challenges. Then let's see what happened after doing that. I negotiated with one company in Joburg. They managed to donate to me 24 sets of toilet sets worth 850,000. The state-of-the-art toilets that do not have bucket of water, but they're just using water in the pipes. So and it's made of steel. So quality and the safety of water was guaranteed. But there was a challenge. What was the challenge? The labor costs to install those systems, 650,000, which we did not have as a school. Then what do? You don't have to throw in the towel. Then said, but we have a partnership with correctional services as we engage with them in our quarterly meetings. Then I engage correctional services to say, you have got people that we have trained while they are in prison, saving their time, that you trained for as plumbers. Can you borrow us those people to come and install for us? They said, fine, we can assist you. Then that was one win of saving the 650,000 labor cost. The only agreement was that we'll give you them for free, but you need to cater them as they work. From 650,000, at the end of the 3 months project, we only spent 42,000 on catering for buying food while they are working at school. And they did not only do the toilets and laid the plumbing work only. They also tiled 8 classrooms for free. And what was the risk? Because people were saying, are you not afraid that prisoners, ex-cons will maybe steal from yourself? Then it was guaranteed, and it was very simple. They give you the labor and they come with supervision. So these people are supervised by their own officials, correctional service officials, while they are at school. So I took a calculated risk because I knew with this we'll save costs, and on the other side we save that people's lives. That's what we did. And what were the benefits of that program? The school benefited because now we have a system that is running perfectly, without blockages, without leakings, without heavy smells. The community benefited in such a way that because these people wronged the community, they came to work for the very same community that they robbed. And also for these people, it was creating job opportunities for them, because some of them got hired by the same community members because they now realize that they've got skills that they can impart in this very same community that they wronged. And in doing that, I'm saying this was done, I think it was over 10 years ago. But the project, sustainability and gains, what did we gain and how did we sustain that? Yes, we made sure that every year when we budget, the toilet papers are part of the package, because we realized that learners, when they not given toilet papers because of their poor background coming from home, some of them don't use the right paper, and then the toilet gets blocked. So now, because we are budgeting for toilet paper, we don't have blockages anymore. And then we also have a budget for cleaning materials, making sure that the toilets are kept clean, and so on. And the repairs, as and when a damage is reported, we repair it. We don't wait for a lot of them to happen so that we don't have budget to do that. And the learner dignity is restored. So now they go into toilets, bathrooms that are very healthy, that restore their dignity. and that reduced health risks and promote healthy lifestyles for these learners. In doing that, we were responding, and we are still responding to the theme of making sure that we take care of sanitation and water sustainability in our institutions. If all of us as educators and leaders can learn from this, I think we may not follow the same pattern, but it's possible, it's doable without the government putting in its hand, because as a leader, you need to come out with solutions that you face at your institutions. And then I've just put up this code so that it motivates people to say, you don't have to ask permission to fly. The wings are yours, and the skies belongs to no one. So spread your wings and rise like an eagle. Nothing will stop you. So I'm going to share with you the pictures of before we implemented the program and after. We have an NSNP program, that's the nutrition program at school. So the ladies who are cooking there, their toilets were a bit far away from where they were, but we identified the space. If you look at the picture there, the little space shows the little building. It's the kitchen where they are cooking, but they were moving some 20, 30 meters to the bathroom. So we ended up requesting the SGB, and then I installed these bathrooms for them so that they don't have to travel a long way, risking their health to go and relieve themselves. So this is how it's done. And the space is now user-friendly. In front of it is a vegetable garden where we use the very same water that we do not have, and then we provide good food to our learners. And with the bill that we had with the municipality, we drilled our own borehole. So we were using our own borehole, wherein we first installed one tank, and as the enrollment grew, the tanks were increased to 2. And then not only that, we had a cleaning system, filtration filter system that makes sure that the water that we supply to the learners and the educators is very clean. And this is the 3 pictures that will be displayed there. It shows the before and the after. If you look at the bottom part, is when I took over, the toilets were these ones, the ones that were used in the past. And then the ones that we installed, the new ones, the 850,000 staff, those are the ones that you see above there. So the toilets, you can see the picture of before and after. And then even the basins, you can see that the spacing where the toilets are, then the cleanliness of the toilets from where it was to how is it now, and also the basin where they are washing their hands. So in doing that, you restore their dignity. When they go to those bathrooms, they can feel that they are valued, and the learner absenteeism was reduced because they know that they are using the very clean facilities. And as a leader, you must go against the usual practice to find your new ways. You must make sure that you can't always do things the same way you have been doing and expecting different results. So you need to be that leader who knows that you must take that bold step to create your own path and become different to all the people that you have been serving. So in doing that, as a leader, I think as a school, we are responding to the theme that you are presenting to us today, that this is what we are doing to assist the Africa Day and make an awareness to other colleagues to say, it's doable, colleagues. You can come and see from the pictures here, and then you can also come and see what we did at our school. Based on that, I'll pause my presentation at that very much.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much, very much, Mr. Mahlalani, for those valuable insights and reflections, as well as practical and sustainable solution to the problems schools are facing in the South African context. And thank you so much for also sharing about the success stories and the examples of progress that has found root in the school that you are currently in. It really is inspiring and motivating to see what leadership can do and the change and the difference it can make. So thank you so much. Mr. Klaas, you can stop sharing your
Yes,
sharing
sir.
your
All right.
your
screen.
your screen.
Yes.
Questions and answers will be part of our engagement later on. So be on standby. I've seen a lot of comments in the chat about the great and good work that you are doing and how you're changing the reality of learners' experiences in the school that you are in. So we're looking forward to the questions and answers later on in the conversation. In the meantime, our next speaker brings an important learner perspective to today's conversation. Masete Odisho, if you could please share your screen and just prepare yourself as I introduce you. So Mosete, who is accompanied by his teacher, Mr. Makufane, is a grade 10 learner at Potokos Secondary School and is part of the mathematics and sciences stream. Masete is described as hardworking, passionate, and eager to embrace new opportunities and challenges. And today, Masete will share reflections on what access to safe and dignified school environments means from a learner's perspective and why these issues matter for educational success and personal development. So please join me in welcoming Masete Odisho. Over to you.
Greetings, Alida upon you. My name is Huriso Masete, a grade 10 learner from Potoko Secondary School, and today I join you to speak about the water and sanitation and how it has affected teaching, learning, and overall human dignity. So picture this. You're trying to solve a complex accounting transaction, analyze a complex mathematical problem while being dehydrated. Well, for many learners, including myself, especially learners from Quinta 1 schools, this isn't just a metaphor, it's a reality. The Department of Education prides itself on producing quality over quantity, but truth be told, can actually quality be produced even if learners' needs are not met? So in this presentation, we'll be looking into what I call the big three of water and sanitation, which are effect on teaching, effects on learning, and also human dignity. So we'll start off with effects on teaching. Access to water and sanitation will lead to reduced teacher absenteeism. When schools lack clean water, teachers are more likely to contract diseases, waterborne diseases such as cholera and diarrhea, and therefore they'll be absent at school. But however, if the educators are presented with clear, clean water, they'll be able to avail themselves at the school and also allow them to educate the learners, making sure that the learners are being taught, educated, and making it possible for them to produce the best result. And also lead to improved engagement with learners. When both educators and learners are properly hydrated, it becomes easier for the educators to identify content gaps, identify in ways these content gaps can be addressed, and also learners are more able to participate actively, contributing to an engaging and supporting goals of the Department of Education. So it will also allow for on-site health education to learners. Our educators serve as our role models. Having them practice water and sanitation at our schools with us visually analyzing them will enable us as learners to actually adopt that kind of strategy. So this will allow us that in the future we'll not treat water and sanitation as a second thought, but rather as a priority. So it can also contribute to availability of educators in the school. This is because access to water and sanitation will allow educators to feel at ease. It will also encourage educators from certain environments, locations, to come to our school, and also this will be because there is an availability of water and sanitation, leading to a reduced pressure on current educators, enabling them to focus on one-on-one planning strategies to education for each learner, making it possible to achieve the best results on. So moving on to the next slide, we'll be talking about the impact of sanitation on learning. So in this one, I'd like you to pay attention to this one because this one affects us learners mostly. So dehydration leads to shorter attention spans and reduced concentrations in class. So increased access to water enables learners to focus better, enhancing both concentration and memory. So if we do not have water in our classes or in our schools, it is likely that the learners will not be able to concentrate or participate in class, hindering their learning capability and access to a brighter future. So it also leads to enhanced hygiene knowledge. Access to water and sanitation improves learners' understanding of hygiene practices. This knowledge becomes a norm and is often carried beyond the school environment and practice in our daily lives, enabling us to treat, as I've mentioned before, water, sanitation, and hygiene as their priority rather than a second thought. And also, it could lead to increased learning times. Water and sanitation is a necessity. We know that. However, if water and sanitation are not available at our schools, the principal is legally obligated to cancel the school day for the rest of the day, meaning that the learners will be absent. And in that time which they have lost, the learners could have been learning something important. So if we have access to water and sanitation, it will help us reduce these kinds of unwanted effects. And will also lead to improved learner attendance. So access to water and sanitation, it reduces the probability of learners having access to contraction of waterborne diseases, much like teachers, which are diarrhea and cholera. So if we do not have these illnesses, we will avail ourselves at the school and be able to share on what knowledge we understand, what we do not understand, and also contribute to more effective learning environment. So I hope that was understood, and we'll move on to the next slide, which will be focusing on impact on human dignity. So we'll start off with self-esteem and academic confidence. When learners have access to clean water and sanitation, it reinforces a sense of self-worth. This boosts their confidence and encourages them to participate actively in class. So the reason why this is true is because when learners are able to access water and sanitation, they are able to go to the bathrooms, assist themselves, and come back to the class. In case of an emergency where learners have a problem like a body odor, they are able to go to those bathrooms, clean themselves, and come back to the class, and they present the most effective result. So it will also foster a culture of self-respect. When schools and the Department of Education itself invest in proper sanitation and hygiene, let us begin to understand that self-care is essential, not optional. This helps to develop responsible individuals and dignified individuals in the future who will also bring more generations who prioritize water, sanitation, and overall hygiene. So it can also lead to a contribution on identity and school belonging. Access to dignified water and sanitation helps learners to build a positive identity. That positive identity creates a sense of belonging, which contributes to an improved academic outcomes because now learners will be able to interact with the educators without fear of being judged or treated in any rather unethical way. So, ladies and gentlemen, I would like you to move on to the graph. Next slide, please. So this graph shows an availability of water, hygiene, and other factors affecting education. As you can see, water takes the biggest part by contributing a 65%, which proves to us that we actually need to improve our access, especially in quintile 1 schools, of water so that the learners there are able to learn effectively and are able to use water in a way that actually helps them. So it can lack of hygiene, so it contributes to 25%, which is a very big part of our learners' contributions here. So we need to understand with this one that if we have a proper hygiene at our schools, we'll be able to have learners who are confident enough to express themselves, who understand what is happening in class, and if they do not, they will be able to raise up their hand and tell the teacher what is going on. And external factors contributed to a mere 10% of learner education. While these external factors cannot be ignored, it is just that today we are focusing on lack of hygiene and water, access to water. So, ladies and gentlemen, that marks the end of my presentation, and I thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Masete, for sharing such a powerful and important perspective with us, and just sharing with us why safe water and sanitations are essential for learner dignity and educational opportunities, and also sharing with us the collective responsibility to just ensure that no learner is left behind. Ladies and gentlemen, as we move into the next segment, I want to invite all of you as participants to once again engage with us online. Feel free to just share key reflections or moments from today's webinar on your social media platform using the hashtag educational conversations. I repeat that again, hashtag education conversations. You may also tag Kagiso_trust and the University of Johannesburg as we continue building this important dialogue beyond today's session. Can I please ask for the Mentimeter responses to be displayed? So when we look at our Mentimeter responses that are displayed in front of us, it shows us that the biggest impact of poor sanitation in schools is the loss of dignity, health, as well as safety for learners, especially vulnerable children. And it creates inhumane and degrading conditions that cause suffering and illness and emotional distress. Poor sanitation also reflects serious mismanagement and can have a devastating effect on attendance of learners. It can have devastating effects on learning, confidence, and overall well-being. So those are the key words that all of you as participants have shared in response to the question, in one word, what is the biggest impact of poor sanitation in schools? And I want us to really process those words that have been shared by all of you, but not just process it. I want the words that were shared to challenge us to think about how we can bring about change in the context that is affected by the absence of water and proper sanitation, but also how we can make a difference in this regard. So thank you so much for sharing all of your thoughts with us, but also challenging us to heed the call and to make the change that we would like to see in context. It is now my pleasure to also introduce our final speaker for today, Mr. Mbeki from Equal Education. Now, Mr. Mbeki began his journey with Equal Education as a learner member known as an equalizer, and now serves as a junior organizer in KwaZulu Natal. His work focuses on education advocacy and mobilizing communities around issues affecting learners and schools, including infrastructure, and equal access to quality education. Today, he will reflect on the broader advocacy and systemic dimensions of water, sanitation, and learner dignity within South Africa's education system. So please join me in welcoming Mr. Mbeki. Mr. Mbeki, if you could please share your screen. Your presentation is visible. Over to you.
Right. Thank you very much. Greetings to you all. As introduced, my name is Aluyolo Mbeki and not related to the former president. Just to get that out of the way. So I've been asked today to speak on the broader issue of water and sanitation. So coming in as the last speaker, it means that most of everything that I was going to touch base on has already been touched on. The first speaker that welcomed us, Professor Yassim, spoke about how the issue of water and sanitation is not just an infrastructural issue, but it's also a matter of dignity. It's also a matter of health. It's a matter of life, and also a matter of that feeds into that broader right of having the right to basic education. Before I start my presentation or what I'm going to be talking on, I want to first introduce where I come from, Equal Education. Equal Education is a learner-led movement that consists of learners, teachers, parents, post-school youth members, and community members who work together in trying to advance equality and quality in the South African education system through analysis, research, and activism, and sometimes through litigation. We are active in 5 different provinces, namely Gauteng, Eastern Cape, Western Cape, Limpopo, and KZN. But our work does affect other provinces that we are not necessarily active in. So our work is around putting education on the national agenda, prioritizing education. So doing our work means that we have to conscientize the youth that we work with through political education and popular education. As I've already stated, that we also do go to courts at times if necessary, and we engage with local, provincial, and national government, and also working with other civil society organizations. So getting into water and sanitation hygiene, which is what we call it at Equal Education, the abbreviation is WASH. When we're talking about WASH, it refers to the access to clean water, safe sanitation. And all of these things go together in providing and creating a safe learning environment for learners. The previous speaker spoke of how it restores dignity in you as a learner when you go to school and you have access to clean water, you have access to safe and dignified sanitation. So what this then means is that if learners have access to clean water, proper sanitation, it means that they are able to attend school regularly and consistently, and they're also able to participate fully in their education. As the previous speaker also stated, that when you are dehydrated and learning under those conditions, it also affects your attention span in class, right? So those are the things that when you have proper water and proper sanitation, it can lead to those positive outcomes in performance and improvements at school. The impact of unsafe water and unsafe sanitation is also very dire. I saw in the Mentimeter someone spoke about grief. a lot of learning toilets, and that is and you cannot separate the struggle of a school from that of a community. At Equal Education, we say water and sanitation. So those are not separated as parents in also saying that you are facing at school. So it also serves as a bit of a challenge trying who say, I mean, it's not how is it an issue that my child uses a pit toilet at school when even at home my child have these learn
I'm Mr. Mbeki. I think there's a bit of break in your communication. You're not coming through properly. Ladies and gentlemen, we do apologize for the glitch. Let us just give an opportunity for Mr. Mbeki's connection to be restored. In the meantime, while Mr. Mbeki is trying to restore his connectivity, I do want to remind you to start engaging in the chat with regards to perhaps a reflection that you would like to share or a question that you would like to pose to one of our participants, which we will be attending to later on in today's session. Mr. Mbeki, welcome back. Is your connectivity stable?
trust it is. Am I audible?
You are audible. Thank you, sir. Continue. You can continue, Mr. Mbeki.
I'm trying to present a video. Can you just confirm if it's on?
Okay, it's your presentation showing currently. I will tell you when the video pops up.
All right.
think you
Okay,
need
you
to
just have
reshare your other screen.
I need to reshare my other screen.
And
Okay.
no, you stop sharing and then reshare, but just include sound when you share. So share your entire screen
Alright.
as opposed to the presentation.
Okay, my entire screen. Okay, I see. And then share sound. All right. Are we able to see?
Yeah, and I think you can maybe just stop your video, and maybe just for the connectivity.
Do we have sound?
Good.
We're good.
Yes.
Thank you.
Amanzi esinawo la ekoleni angcolile. Sometimes amanzi asiwatholi ngoba swengekho izulu lingananga, siyaphuma siyowakha ngaphandle kweminye imizi. Manje siyaphazamisana esikoleni masifunda.
Iy'ngane mazikha amanzi aphuma amawethu, then ziya-affect-eka iy'ngane because ziyagula, ziphathwe isisu, okwenza ukuthi ezinye iy'ngane ziphazamiseke ekufundeni.
No learner should be without access to basic, dignified and safe water and sanitation in their schools. But this is not just stories of isolated incidents. This speaks to a broader systemic failure by government to provide learners with the dignity that they need. Stats SA's General Household Survey paints a really bleak picture. Across the country, nearly half of all households don't have access to a tap inside their home.
I-break idinga ukuthi ize yengezwe ngoba kudingeka ukuthi iy'ngane zihambe ziqale zokha amanzi kuqala, kanjalo futhi namanzi ukuthi amanzi okupheka.
Ayisebenza kanzima, amanzi asokolisa kakhulu. Sinayo impompi yomphakathi eseduzane kodwa ayaphela ngenxa yokuthi nje inkinga yamanzi ekhona vele. Kusiphoqa ukuthi size sihambe siyosithela kwenye impompi yomphakathi isekudeni kakhulu. Kumele siwathale ngamakhanda siphindelele. Okuyenzeka kwezinye iy'khathi iy'ngane zidle sekweqile isikhathi sokudla.
In Limpopo, 1 in every 4 households have their water supply interrupted every single week. In KwaZulu-Natal, it's even worse, 1 in every 3. 18% of households in KwaZulu-Natal rely on a plain wet latrine.
Ama-toilet as-affecta ngoba asisakhona ukungena kuwona. Awanayivalo, awanamasithi, ama-toilet ethu awahlukanisiwe nawabafana. Bayakhona ukuthi basibheke, anginama-sanitary pads, awekho healthy, sithola ama-infections khona.
Bayasipopula ema-toilets because kuney'mbongi ema-toilets. Asikwazi ukuthi singashintshela i-pads khona. Bachamela ngale emva kwama-toilets because awabangcolile. Babechama ungena ngaphakathi ema-toilets amantombazane. Masihamba sifuna ukuyikhulula, so asikwazi ukuthi singayikhulula ema-toilets. Abanye abafana bagcine beyikhululela ngaphandle la esigabeni. Ama-toilets adilizwa ngo-3. Adilizwa January, dilizwa phakathi nonyaka, aphinde adilizwa a year after. Mase-ke kwaphelela lapho balokhu beza abantu be-construction, bebefike nje la behlale bengenzi lutho. Bagcina ukuthi-ke sekuphela kanjalo kwaphela, kwangabe saqhutshwa. Kuye sesikhathi angithi kunokwenzeka singene u-past 6. Masingena u-past 6 kuyabanda emaklasini, ngena umoya nje kuyaphephuleka. Ngoba singanele emaklasini, kunokwenzeka sisebenzise amaklasi alifanayo, njengokuthi soba sizobhalela la ngoba amaklasi awekho wanele. Uma kubhala ungekuhle sibhalela la, sihambe siyofundela lezinto.
Futhi ukuthi kulethwe amanzi kahle kahle, isikole sami naso si-improve. Because uma singathola amanzi singa-right, izinto ey'ningi nga-right.
Ngathanda ukuthi kufakwe amanzi amasha namathangi amasha akwazi ukuthi aklinwe khona kuzofaka amanzi a-right, khandwe nama-toilet amasha. Mese kufakwe namawindi namabhodi. Okunye-ke sicela ukuthi balethe iy'ncwadi ezanele because asanele. Sigcine ukuthi sesiyishare iy'ncwadi and abanye abakhona ukuthi benze umsebenzi kahle ngoba iy'ncwadi ziyashoda.
Budget cuts in education, in provincial education departments, means that they're not meeting their obligations other than mounting standards for school funding. In KwaZulu-Natal is particularly bad. The money that schools are supposed to get to buy textbooks, to buy paper, to buy toilet paper, and to pay their municipal bills is supposed to be 1,835 rand per learner in an no-fee school. In KwaZulu-Natal, for the past 11 years, it's been frozen at 955 Rand per learner. This means that principals are now going to parents and forcing them to pay voluntary contributions, or they're having to choose between buying textbooks for a school or keeping the lights on. And these are harrowing conditions that no learner can learn in.
Okay, thank you everyone. So basically the reason why I was playing that video was so that the learners that go through these issues can be the ones that actually speak about what they're facing in the schools. And the numbers speak for themselves, right? Because for 10 years in KZN alone, after accounting for inflation, the investment or the money that is actually spent on infrastructure still continues to be on a downward trajectory. And yeah, I mean, I can go on and on about what the numbers are saying, but you can also see for yourselves what the numbers are saying. Monitoring and oversight on existing infrastructure is not being done. If you look at what the numbers are saying in 2025, there was no monitoring that was done because of budget constraints. So yeah, you can just see for yourselves in schools that we visited in KZN this year in January. Most of the schools said they don't have reliable access to water. An overwhelming majority of them said they don't even have access to proper hand washing facilities in their schools. So, and there's no sufficient water for them to go to last them for the whole year. So those are just the issues that are there. And the problems don't exist in isolation. The problems exist because of a system, because of a government that lacks political will to implement, a government that doesn't have accountability and consequential measures for projects that are not being delivered or for things that are not being implemented properly. Because the policies are there, the constitution is there, it says all the right things, it says this must be built, this must be done, but nothing is actually being done and there's no consequences on that. And I just want to touch on what we call minimum norms and standards for school infrastructure law. The minimum norms and standards came into law in 2013, and they regulate what a school needs in order for a school to be qualified as a school. And they also had some key deadlines, and some of those deadlines were saying that in 2016, there must be a complete eradication and removal of all unsafe structures in schools. And that also includes your mud schools, your asbestos. And the reason why I want to highlight this is also part of those unsafe structures is pit latrine toilets. And today in 2026, 10 years later, we still have pit toilets. We still have learners that are drowning in pit toilets. So that was what norms and standards had. And now today in 2026, well, it was the amendments were made in 2024, where the government removed the deadlines to that were there. So the deadlines were part of an obligation, were legally binding obligations for the government to say that this must be done by a certain period of time. So the removal of those deadlines also now then means that they go from being legally binding obligations to just part of e-planning processes or even serving as just suggestions. So it just weakens the accountability and contributes further to a delay in infrastructure delivery without any consequences and accountability. And some of the things that we are seeing change in addition to the change in norms and standards is that delivery projects or delivery initiatives that were part of the KPA of the National Department of Basic Education, such as the Accelerated School Infrastructure Delivery Initiative and Sanitary Appropriate for Education, are being phased out in the next year, which then means now the Department of Basic Education, the national department that is now only going to be responsible for policy, development and monitoring and oversight of projects. But the actual delivery of projects is only going to rest on provincial education departments. And this raises concerns because already as it is, provincial education departments are facing capacity and budget constraints. And this then means that there's no support and accountability coming from the national department, and this will even lead to a slower and uneven progress in project delivery. So part of the solutions are obviously, as it has been part of the conversation today, around the provision of reliable access to water, the provision of safe sanitary facilities, but also even basic products like sanitary pads, toilet papers. Those are basic things that are not being provided for learners in schools. But also something that I want to touch on is around divorcing austerity budgeting. And austerity budgeting is budgeting that says that money that is supposed to be used for public spending or social services is then going to be used to service debt. So that means government takes away money from social services like education, health, and all other things, and instead of investing in those services, they then serve their debts. So those are the things that lead to the problem of infrastructure delivery that is not happening. So as my parting shot, I'm sorry I took so long, but my parting shot before I hand over back to the speaker is around the importance of organizing ourselves and being organized around our issues, because I believe all of us that are joining in this room today are here because we know the impact of not having access to water. We know what it does and what the impacts of it are to people. So it's very important that we organize around these issues. But also, just to further emphasize a point that was said earlier on today, that the access to water and safe sanitation is not a privilege. It is a basic human right, and it should be treated as such. So with that being said, thank you for your time, everyone. That is that from me.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mbeki. And thank you to all of our other speakers as well, Mr. Klaas and Masete, for just your thoughtful and impactful contributions today. And throughout this conversation, we have heard powerful reflections on the importance of safe water and sanitation for learner dignity and well-being. We've heard powerful reflections on the lived experiences or the lived realities experienced by schools and learners, as well as the role of leadership, advocacy, and community action. We've also heard powerful reflections on just the need for sustainable and equitable solutions across the education sector. And at this point, we would now like to open the floor for questions, for reflections, and comments from you, the participants. We welcome your contributions from the context that you are from. If there are educators here, if there are learners here, if there are policymakers here, or just the civil society organizations or parents, and all other stakeholders who have perhaps joined us. You are invited just to share your reflections, to share your questions, to give your comments. You may participate by just raising your virtual hand if you would like to speak, and the IT will assist with unmuting you, or by just submitting your questions and reflections in the Q&A or the chat box. While we are waiting for hands to be raised, for any questions or comments or reflections, I just want to dive into the chats that were shared. I can see the chats are quite active, and Mr. Klaas has already responded to a few of the questions. I see a hand being raised. Mr. Buyo, please unmute yourself and direct your question or your reflection or your comments to the relevant speaker.
Good morning, colleague. Good afternoon, colleagues. The winter has caught us on a morning breeze every time. But anyhow, I just wanted to say thank you for all the presentations. They're inspiring from the first speaker, and to see what efforts have been taken by us as civil servants and as civil society and as people in our communities. And to the young who presented as well. I am happy to see that we are in safe hands in terms of presentation and articulation of our needs as young people. And him in his time, he has done just that, And with Equalizer, our colleagues, they have always been doing their best in this, and we are inspired. I am from the Northern Cape in Warrenton. So I want to reflect on a number of issues which I feel that in as much as these are issues that are directly departmentally directed, I think as well either the government is reluctant to collaborate with one another. For instance, if you look at the Department of Water and Sanitation, they are a department that's supposed to have been prioritizing and collaborating with the Department of Education in such challenges, And as well, when we look at SALGA, SALGA also needs to have a consideration on other issues that pertaining the well-being and sanitation and service delivery of our communities in terms of particularly on schools. But now also there is a need for us as SGB and as parents to be able to also take the initiative, as the first speaker has presented what they are doing in our communities. Because I think as well we have been too reluctant to step up on issues like if a leaking tap. It's something that as a parent you are supposed to be able to see it or to have a conversation with your child around those issues, so that your child will be able to say to you, there is this condition at school or in class, but because of there is that gap, we find ourselves where we can't find these minor things that we can attend to. But then when you look at this, as well as when I have to reflect in my times as an SGB member, there's always also an issue that we need to find there is a silver lining which I do not understand between the SGB and the principal and the school management team. But if there is funds that the school is going to win on a particular program that is to campaign or to bring awareness around water and all those sanitation issues, then it means that money must be dedicated to those issues and not be deviated to other needs that are necessarily not there because of there is a increase or a demand, but just because of mismanagement, So I think as well, we need to find ways, and maybe as well, the departments need to be stringent on such issues where they are able to say that, but we need to say that if you have won a budget, you are supposed to say that budget must be implemented on that and be held accountable if that money is not presented in those things, because we know other allegations that happens in schools and stuff like that. But it was just something that I saw that it was a need for us to do that. But also to see that also, how do we also involve service providers in our schools to help with small jobs? Because I believe every service provider that gets a job must be able to pay somebody who can say, repair for us the toilets or renovate our toilets, those kind of things. So I think also as citizens, we need to start taking charge, and also to make sure that as parents, we are actively involved. Just to go at school and look at the children's toilets is something that we can do. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Buyo, for your contributions. Really appreciate it. Is there anyone else who would like to ask a question, give a comment, or just basically share your opinion? If so, you are more than welcome to raise your hand or to drop your questions and your reflections in the Q&A or in the chat box. While you are doing that, I just want to highlight one of the questions that were posed in the chat box for Mr. Klaas is the following. And I would like Mr. Klaas to give voice to that question. Do you often get a platform where you get to share your story with your peers or other schools? That is one question. And the next question from, and that was a question from Ulelani. The next question, you can also give answer to Mr. Klaas in the same breath, because you've already answered it in the chat, but I think it is a question that needs voice so that people could just hear where you're coming from or what inspired the actions that you have taken. And that is a question from Prof. Lucia Monongi. And the question is, how easy was it for you to get assistance from the company you approached for donations? And in your opinion, what could be some of the reasons why some principals in schools where sanitation is still a big issue, why are they not doing the same for their schools? Mr. Klaas?
Thank you, Dion. I was trying to write somewhere, but as you were presenting, I may have lost the first question. But the second question, in how easy was it to approach a company? I had a friend of mine who's working in that space. So as and when we are engaging, isn't it that at times you engage with people and then you share your life stories and so on? So I came to realize that as companies, they at times they annually have a budget that is allocated for social development or social upliftment. But at some companies, their policies are, if they gave to some beneficiaries in Limpopo in this financial year, the following financial year, they will be going to another province and so on. So most of the companies are operating at that level. So if you can come across that wheel where it's now in your province, and then when you apply, possibilities are you may be the lucky one, because you need to submit a strong backing evidence to say why you need these things. And the other thing that maybe made us to get the fund is I adopted this policy. I realized that if when people see money, then they change their characters, they change whatever. So when money comes from outside, instead of us and the SGB fighting over what do we do, how do we redirect this monies, I say to them, this is what we need. Can you get us this facilities? So it's better for them to buy those stuff and deliver them to us, not to give us money. It avoids a lot of things. That's why you see us having that huge amount of money, not even a cent taken out, because it didn't come as hard money. It came as the toilets themselves. So it's a very safe way to approach the businesses to say, I need you to buy me 10 laptops. They cost 100,000. I don't want you to give me 100,000. This is the quotation from the shops. And then if you approve one particular shop, go and buy, we'll go and collect. It makes things easy that way. Can you assist me with the first question that you wanted me to respond to?
The first question asks whether you often get an opportunity on different platforms to share your story.
Dion, my story, it's so amazing, because I don't know how the other people see you become a person who succeeds And instead of you being used as a reference, when people come to you for assistance, you must provide. I do get a lot. I've motivated more than 3 districts officials. I've motivated more than 10 circuits. And I'm presenting the whole system like it is. There's a lot that I've done at my school. So I'm showing them this is how I'm doing it. And they keep asking me, how do you get it right? I'm saying it's very easy, because in my school, I have a grade, it's a primary school. So all the grades from R to 7, they are led by an SMT member, whether appointed or co-opted. So they assist me to run this as small schools. So you distribute that leadership roles and responsibilities to everybody. So we end up being a team of people that wants to compete within the same school. So in doing that, the school is benefiting. I've been given a lot of opportunities. I've opened up the doors for the school. Some schools, they come to my school to observe and learn, and then they go and implement. But you cannot go and knock at their doors to say, come and see, this is what I'm doing. So to some, it's a win. To some, they are not, because maybe of pride or so on. I'm not sure. But I am given opportunity to provide these things. In Limpopo, they know about it. If you say the Gugu Primary School, they will tell you exactly what I'm telling you now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Klaas. There's also a question for Masete. Masete, the question that is directed to you is the following. Do you think as a learner, there's something you can do to improve the status of your toilets, especially to ensure good health for you as a learner? If so, what could it be?
There are many alternatives that we could ask. First of all, if we do not have the finances to do it, we could appoint RCL members to actually guard the toilets, so that learners who are destroying or damaging the infrastructure inside of those toilets are reported to the principal and it can be dealt with. We can also approach local shops, churches, or donors who are willing to help us upgrade those toilets and sanitation facilities at our schools. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Masete, for that response. We also have a question from Ntabi Seng, and this question is directed to Mbeki. Mbeki, the question to you is the following. Is there any reason equal education work in Northwest Province?
So I think it's a typo. I think the question is probably asking why we are not working in the Northwest Province. Yeah, so I think I did sort of mention it when I started my presentation that we are active in only 5 of the 9 provinces, but the work, especially around policy influencing and changing, does affect all other 9 provinces. Other 4, sorry. So in as much as we are not actively working in those provinces, but the work that we do does, and the change that we try to bring does affect all other provinces, and we are always ready to receive any issues of education that affect people in those provinces. So I don't know if I can also maybe leave the contacts of Equal Education when this is done, so that they can reach out to us if there's any issues that they need us to deal with.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mbeki. And Mr. Klaas, there's another question for you from Dr. Fatima. Dr. Fatima is asking the following question. Do you find that the current students appreciate the toilets and water as to compare to the students 10 years ago when you completed this project?
Yes, even if I submitted on the chat, but I think it's on a 50-50 basis based on the fact that a learner is a learner. To get the learners respect the facilities, it starts at home. That's what I'm teaching my parents when I've met them in parents meeting, to say the discipline we are trying to preach on our side, it should be starting with you at home. When you see learners dropping, leaving running water in the bathrooms or in the tap at the taps at home, and then you don't say anything, they will continue doing it at school. So what we did at school is we have a system where we give them permission tickets. So while you're teaching, when the learner has to go out, there's a permission ticket that is released to one learner to go there. Before the learner comes back, you cannot release more than 2 learners, because that will be for boys and girls. So that avoids crowding in the bathrooms and so on. And the ladies who are assisting us in the cleaning, they also go and assist with monitoring when learners get inside. Because when the learner gets inside and it takes a lot of time, the person will go in and try to find out. But it all lies with the discipline of the leader of the school, leaders in that particular school, and how the discipline is done at that particular school. That's how we get it right. Thank you.
So, Mr. Klaas, while I have you unmuted, Busisiwe is just asking whether you could share 3 strategies that you have used for getting funding that could help some other schools, as everyone is seeking help from the government, and it takes forever for the government to respond to those requests.
Yes, thank you. I will not have a problem. I'm not sure if they want me to write things here, or should I write a list of what I'm doing, and maybe I'm not sure if they can be able to access whatever platform after this session and post to them to say, these are the strategies that I'm applying. And it doesn't mean it's all free flow with me. There are still some things that we need and we're struggling to get, because you can see that in terms of the economy, it's very difficult for businesses now to come to the party. But we cannot throw in the towel and say it's not possible. There are still some people out there who are willing to donate, and they can do a difference. So you can better advise to say, do you want me to write some things now on the chat, or can I put something nicely on paper and forward it to you guys, and then you can distribute to the people who attended? Advise me there.
Mr. Klaas, if what you will be sharing is quite extensive, I would advise that you perhaps share that document to Kagiso Trust. And if anyone is interested to access that document that you've shared with Kagiso Trust, for them to then make contact with Kagiso, and they will then share it with the relevant individual doing the query. Thank you very much, Mr. Klaas, for your response. And this is a question to all 3 presenters in no particular order. The question is from Nadia. And Nadia is asking, how can we hold the government accountable, and how can we mobilize civil society to attend to perhaps the poor conditions in regards to water and sanitation? In no particular order, you are welcome to answer. Nadia, you can unmute yourself to clarify that question to our speakers.
Hi, thank you so much. It was just, there was something, anyway, I've been working in the area of education for so long, and I've seen some really, eye-watering things that children have to contend with. And the other day I was thinking, in 2020, we all got put in lockdown, and we all had to stay in our houses, and we couldn't move anywhere because the government had told us, everything about COVID, etc. And I was then thinking, what would it take for us as a civil society to actually say, children are our future, and the children are, what, like the equal education person, Aluyolo, was speaking about that there was an agreement made so long ago about the pit latrines for those to no longer be part of our school systems and our schools. And children are still drowning and dying in them. And even, the point is that I just feel surely at some point we need to rise up in a much more effective way to say that we can't carry on accepting these conditions, and how, a lot of different classes in South Africa need to wake up to what's happening. And without being negative, I just really can't want to do a brainstorming session where we all think about what are the different solutions that we can come up with, and use all our social media platforms to all go with the same thing of saying, this is what we need to do. These are our 3 options of us actually starting to stand up against this. Like actually go into an action plan where we do a think tank, where for some other reason, I don't know how one would manage everyone giving their contributions and ideas, and slowly we whittle them down to what can be a response as us as civil society saying this has to end, and we are no longer moving left, right, or whatever until things actually get done.
To answer the question, may I continue?
Continue.
To answer the question, the system that was brought down, it can actually be brought back so that it is activated. This will force the principals at the school to actually make sure that there is proper sanitation and water. And also on our social media platforms, we can all post regarding the same topic. In this way, the department will be aware that this is a highlighted issue. There are more people who are willing to participate in it, and therefore they will have they'll have more intention of solving it quickly. And we can also organize the legalized strikes under police supervision to express our grievances to the department, enabling them to actually come and produce those needs that we have.
All right. Thank you. From my perspective as a principal, I'm just going to share the practices that we're doing. You see, when we have award ceremonies, when we have these particular functions where we invite different sister departments and the business communities around our school, because in our school we have a quarterly meeting with all the sister departments in our circuit, all the business forums that are operating in our circuit, even though they are not all coming to the meetings, but those that are coming, what we do is we share with them the performance of learners for the particular term. We tell them these are the results that we got with the little resources that we have. These were the desired results. We couldn't meet it. These were the challenges. Some of the challenges that we're facing are external. We cannot solve them by ourselves. They are either solved by the department, or you yourselves, guys from other departments, you can come and solve these problems. And in terms of businesses, we lack this type of resources. By doing that, you market your school, you open up to investors, and more often than once, they will tell you, principal, we got 1, 2, 3 from this particular sponsor. They will come and assist us. There's an example, a recent example that I can show you, that one of the managers of a bank around the town, he came to our school. She came to our school. She was invited after seeing and hearing what we are presenting. She sourced out sponsorship. She managed to get us 50,000 for uniform of the needy learners. She also got us 2 other sponsors based on their client base in their businesses. So when you open up, you can find people who are willing to assist, even if it's not themselves from their pockets, but they know people that can come and assist. With that approach, we can also be able to assist and solve these problems with the priority of water and sanitation as the as number one. And I don't know how this can also assist, because there's a problem with schools that cannot afford to pay municipality services and so on, and their water supply is cut and all these things. But the municipality is the government. So the department must also come to the party and try to mitigate between the two parties. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Klaas, for your response. There was another hand that was up. That was Dr. Mangodzi from CEO from KT. If you'd still like to pose your question or share a reflection, please go ahead.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. Dion, thank you for the opportunity. I'm hoping I'm audible.
You are, Doc. You can go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just thinking what a humbling, and somebody was saying that in the chat, what a humbling topic. And, you know, when I reflect on this issue, I just think that, you know, in life, there are certain things that they must come out of your to-do list. And if they don't, psychologically, they affect you that you are not making progress. And I think the whole issue of the pit latrines in the country, especially in schools, it's one of those that no matter how much we achieve, no matter how much we move on with other things, it will always haunt us as a mark of failure. So I'm raising what I'm raising from that perspective. You know, we need to find a way of certain conversations are no longer part of our discussions because we have dealt with them. And I'm hoping that this topic should be one of those that we celebrate that we've dealt with it and we've moved on. And I really applaud our speakers today, and I celebrate the principal. I mean, you are one in a million, sir, and we really, really applaud you. The proposal and the thinking that I've always had is that, you know, to what extent, and I put it in a chat, can we as a collective think about initiatives like social impact bonds, where we can have impact investors and impact funders? I'm sure that 50 rand or that 10 rand in my pocket, I think it's not much. But if it's added to this, you know, conversation that everybody says, we want this topic to go away, that people can find a structured way of pulling together funding done in a very organized manner so that we can then say, we want to deal with this matter once and for all, where the responsibility is not just put to an SGB or to the business in that area, but it's a collective of every South African. And I think Nadia was alluding to some of those comments earlier. We are fortunate that in South Africa, the whole impact bond story is not new. It was tried in the ECD space. And I think the next candidate of an impact bond in the country, it's what we're talking about today. So maybe people like Equal Education as a civil society organization can just rally us around how do we trigger this so that it's not about where there's a powerful principal or a strong SGP. It's something that we just say, what is the number? We're going to take the next 3 years, we're fixing this, and 2031, we don't want to be having this conversation again. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mangodi, for what you've shared and for the challenge that you have thrown out. I believe that it is a challenge that we should take heed of. in order to bring about transformation in the different contexts that we do find ourselves in. Bulelani, your hand was up. Would you like to still ask a question?
No, thanks. My question has been answered in some of the responses. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Bulelani. Mr. Mbeki, your hand was up. Would you like to add to the comments made, to the reflections made, to the questions posed?
Yes, I'd like to respond to, I think it was Nadia who posed the question around how do we hold government accountable. I think the first part about how we all hold a government accountable, the first step and the simple one is through voting. That's how they listen, that's how they know there's things that need to be done. But the second part, and probably the most, I think, difficult one, is again around organizing and mobilizing around these issues. We all come from communities, we all come from families, from homes. So it's important that these conversations that we have here, they don't start and end in these webinars. They go into our communities and we speak about these things so that we are all informed about what's going on in our communities, so that we are all able to make contributions, because they do these things of issuing out these policy changes and opening it up for submissions to the general public, but we are not aware of what's going on. So we need to be informed about what's going on in Parliament, try to be up to date, try to be aware of what's going on, so that you can also make a contribution to these things, so that you are also able to exercise your democracy, to exercise your right, because democracy doesn't start and end with voting. It continues into being involved in everything that is going on in the country and being part of those decisions that are being taken. So yeah, we can't just have those people in parliaments making the decisions for us when we are the ones that put them there.
Well, thank you so much for your response and your comments, Mr. Mbeki. Dr. Fatima, your hand was up. You are more than welcome to unmute yourself and to pose the question if you have, or give a comment. Dr. Fatima. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
My
Yes,
apologies,
Dr.
I couldn't
Fatima.
find the unmute button. If I may make a suggestion, which once listening to everybody, these fantastic ideas, but the implementation will take time. I really like the idea that the prisoners were used because it is a collaboration project. And it's a double-edged sword, if you'd like, because not only are you giving the prisoners a sense of purpose, but you're also giving students the sense of deserving. So I think that collaboration can go forward. I do believe if schools, yes, I know we look at government, but can we not look at other entities of government that can assist, where prisoners are used and they are given purpose? And as the doctor had rightfully said, that the community had then used these people later on because of their skills. So I truly believe that it's a win-win situation if going forward, if one can look at that rather than relying on government as per whole. That is my contribution.
Thank you so much, Dr. Fatima, for challenging us to think outside of the box and further. Nadia, your hand is up. Would you like to pose a question or give a comment? Go ahead.
Thank you. I just wanted to respond to Mankoti's comment, that we really want this pit latrine issue to be a thing of the past. The thing that I think really outraged me when I was in, I did a lot of teacher training in Mpumalanga, and there are new, what was so amazing about Mr. Klaas Mahalani's presentation was he showed us photos of actual toilets and the tiling of the toilets and how amazing they look now versus how they looked before. But these pit latrine, there's a company that, and I don't know the details, unfortunately, but they call them eco toilets. And even though they look all new, they are ultimately still a pit latrine. So I want to know who approved those as toilets to come in. So someone spent money on those toilets. But why has the replacement toilets actually just been a newer version of a pit latrine? So that, like, for me is really, really unacceptable, because we're trying to put the pit latrine conversation behind us. It was a promise made, but now government seems to be rolling out these new models that are actually exactly the same thing. And then the other thing is I wanted to comment to Aluyolo's and Becky's thing about organizing civil society, and I 100% agree with you, but and you are right, but how do we actually do it? How do we actually practically mobilize civil society? Because currently we're not achieving that. And how do we have these conversations go beyond this webinar? And I'm posing the question, and I'm not pretending to know the answer, but if all of us on this call, over 60 people, do an actual physical workshop on how do we get to move beyond this point, we'll get way better answers if we actually work together. We leave all that we actually just focus on, everybody gives particular practical examples, and then we wade through them and actually tick them off. And once we've got a set of 10, then we all do the same ones. It's kind of what I feel my suggestion is, for us to actually move beyond this point of webinars and talking about them, because this pit latrine thing is only one example of the things that need to shift.
Well, thank you so much for your comments and questions, Nadia. Bulelani, I'm going to give you an opportunity to share your reflection, your question, or your comment, while Mr. Mbeki thereafter, after you've shared your sentiments, Mr. Bulani, Mr. Mbeki, you are more than welcome to unmute and just speak into what was shared by Nadia. Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Bulela. Mr. Bulelani.
Thank you so much. Speaking of contributions and mobilization of resources, one of the resources that perhaps we never think of or tap into is the alumni of the schools, right? More especially like in rural areas and say in townships. And I think that's one resource that we need to tap into, right? For instance, I'm thinking of something that we did last year, something that came out, an idea that came from one of us as an alumni of our high school. We decided that we'll do some sort of a thank you lunch for our former teachers, right? We did that, and it was so well received by our teachers, right? And then we actually thought, you know what, if we could pull something like this and do something for our teachers, what stops us from mobilizing for other things, resources that the school needs, etc., etc.? But it's something that we never thought of, we never think about, and it's something that we need perhaps to tap into, as if you like black schools, right? And it's something that I believe would contribute a lot into our schools. But then I suppose then the difficulty then is, where do you start, or who initiates that, right? Is it the teachers calling up on alumni to come and help back? Because the alumni is out there, and most of the alumni has made it out there in the world, and they have resources of the one form or the other to contribute back to their primary schools where they're from in rural areas, to their high schools where they're from in their townships. It's a matter of getting them mobilized, and I believe they would heed that call. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Mr. Bulelani. Mr. Mbeki, you have about 3 minutes to respond to Nadia.
Okay, I'll try to be brief. The first question was around the eco toilets, and some of them they call the VIP toilets, which are the new glorified pit latrines. So that is obviously signed off by the Minister of Education. She did say last year around April that the department has been able to eradicate about over 90% of pit latrine toilets that the department is aware of at the time. And that it's not possible in South Africa for all schools to get flushable toilets. So some of these interventions are the best that the department can do for these schools. So what that also then translated to is that there are certain people in South Africa that will never have access to water, which is also alarming on its own. And then the second question, I'm probably not going to respond to that with an answer in terms of how do we organize a civil society. I think I did say that that's the most difficult way of holding government accountable, because we are also compartmentalized. There's different NGOs that are doing different things. So coming together into the room and brainstorming in terms of how do we get out of the problems that we are in is the ice that needs to be broken for us to be able to move forward. So I think I'm also open to the room here, just giving us a way forward in terms of how do we organize ourselves.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Mbeki, and everybody who contributed with their reflections, their comments, and their questions. And I do want to encourage everybody to take up the challenge, or the different challenges that were posed in today's conversation, and perhaps let us centralize these thoughts and comments by reaching out to Kagiso Trust, so that we can try and centralize mobilization, and so that the conversation doesn't just stop or end here, and so that we can see what can be done when people from different contexts with different gifts come together for common purpose. So I invite you to reach out to Kagiso Trust and let us think about how to centralize this initiative beyond the conversation that we are having today, given the need that there is in context. So as we come to a close of today's education conversation, we now invite Dr. Siyanda Mazamo to share the key learnings and closing reflection from today's dialogue. Thank you to all our speakers once again. Thank you to all of our participants, our partners, and organizers for contributing to this important conversation on education, dignity, and opportunity. May today's discussion continue to inspire meaningful action towards ensuring that no learner, no matter where that learner is, no learner is left behind. And do not forget to hashtag on your social platform educational conversations to inspire this conversation to be carried forward. Over to you, Dr. Mazamo, and goodbye from me.
Thank you, Dian. Please,
there's a bit of an echo, Dr. Ziana. Do you want to mute one device if there's two devices around you?
No, it's just one. Okay.
There's still a bit of a echo there.
Yeah. Okay.
Should be fine now.
So I'll try not to speak too loud. And thank you for facilitating the conversation. And indeed, Dr. Moitse, what an important and humbling conversation. So as we close today's session, we are reminded of the importance of our theme, which is education for dignity and opportunity, leaving no learner behind. And today's conversation held in celebration of Africa Month highlighted the critical link between education, dignity, as well as access to safe water and sanitation in our schools. It reaffirmed that access to basic services is not only an infrastructure issue, but it is a fundamental education and human dignity issue. And I think some of the speakers alluded to this fact. I want to then extend our sincere appreciation to all our speakers for their insightful contributions. I will start off with Mr. Mahlahlani. I do want to say, Principal, that the likes of yourselves need to be multiplied. After so many years of liberation and free world in South Africa, it is really disappointing that an individual has to personally lead projects that should be a standard for a government department. We want to give you our utmost respect on the work that you have done to ensure that dignity of our kids at your care is preserved. You challenged us to think differently about school infrastructure solutions. You are encouraging us to engage you further beyond this conversation. Thank you for that offer and the time that you have dedicated into making sure that you don't only look at the core subjects or the management of the school itself, but really the livelihoods of our kids and the upkeep of the, the buildings, the infrastructure, and the surrounding overall. I really enjoyed your perspective where you highlighted that leadership, innovation, and accountability needs to also start at school level. You left us with encouraging words that say, like an eagle, the wings belong to you, it belongs to us, it belongs to me. The sky belongs to no one. Therefore, there should be no limits in how far we reach. Principal Mahlahlani, may your wings remain as strong and relentless as that of a determined eagle. Well done and thank you. Mr. Masete, you were our VIP guest. The presentation gave us a lived experience of what learners who face inadequate infrastructure, reminding us that your daily realities, like any other young person that you need to navigate, are true and are deep. Human dignity remained a common word that you used throughout your presentation. Sadly, if we don't listen to you as kids, we will be a lost society. So your experiences, your peers' experiences are true and we cannot dilute them. You brought critically an important voice, that of a learner. And I can only imagine what young adults deal with as they manage to try to be confident and comfortable in their changing bodies and physical developments as they now maneuver the limited exposure to this very key and basic infrastructure. So it also then grounded our discussion in applying real human impact beyond policy and planning. And upwards and onwards to you. Representing EE, Mr. Mbeki, who is not related to ex-president, you provided a broader perspective, sharing your research, impact evidence, and on-the-ground experiences. The contribution, as you depicted in your presentation, connected individual experiences to universal challenges. You showed that scale and urgency is very key to this issue. You also further reinforced the importance of collective action and advocacy. I mean, I'm looking at the chat box and just how much you uploaded in terms of the advocacy and making sure that the civil society also takes an active lead in driving these infrastructural issues and really just driving the facet of education as we should be owning it in support of government and other ecosystem players. So I think as I close, what stood out for me across the different conversations is just how interconnected these perspectives are. That leadership and innovation at school level is one pillar. The lived realities of our kids, the learners, is another key pillar. Evidence and advocacy from civil society is also very key. And just how much if we organize with clarity, these representations can help us mold a better working system that encourages learner and teacher confidence, firstly, access to basic services as citizens of South Africa, and essentially upholding of human rights. So to our facilitator, Mr. Van der Merwe, thank you so much for guiding us in this very meaningful and engaging discussion. I'd also like to thank our valued partner, the University of Johannesburg, and their officials for collaborating with us on this very important platform. Indeed, Mr. Mbeki, these conversations should not and will not end here. We urge everyone, as Mr. Van der Merwe mentioned, to keep on using platforms like X, #education conversations to interact, share insights on this topic and other really related topics. Let's keep cooperating to make sure that no student is left behind. And thank you to all of you that are in attendance for your active participation, your reflections, as well as commitment to advancing education in South Africa. Kagiso Trust can only do its part if the citizens and the recipient or participants in the bigger ecosystem are not also active, vocal, and participative. Our work and our program will not go far in terms of impact. I also just want to remind you that the speaker presentations as well as the session recording will be sent to all of you in attendance. Have a great afternoon and thank you for your time.
Thanks, everyone. The session has ended. We'll be closing it.
Thank you, Lisedi. Bye.